Episode 77, the Gearjammer Grabber. Bienvenidos, and welcome to my channel. Not long ago, I did a project for Gear Grinder magazine that was not only a kickoff to the new sponsor, the Treadheads, but also a prize for a future painting contest. If you missed that episode, shame on you. But here it is. The painting contest was based on another new sponsor that was released in the first issue earlier this year, the Rust Saints. I was thankful I had the chance to work with Gear Grinder magazine on this and look forward to similar projects in the future. Congratulations to the painting contest winner, who was announced in the current issue of Gear Grinder magazine. Follow this link to get your copy. Gear Grinder magazine is packed with new rules, new builds, and everything you need to kick your game into higher gear. In between the regular Gaslands projects, I've been having fun making up war rigs and team haulers using bits from the Super Rig line of Hot Wheels. Using pieces of one of my favorite products of all time, the Plastruck Diamond Plate, I created a basic flatbed worthy of the wasteland. Since I wanted this build to be double duty, I printed off a grabber claw which could be removed easily. This would allow it to be both a team transport and a war rig that's equipped with a wrecker lobber / grabber arm. I then went to the printed pile and grabbed a Bullguard style ram for the front end. This particular build has a very flat front end for a big rig and it lined up nicely. With all the parts separated and stripped down, I hit them with a coat of primer and got ready to create some destruction. The obvious deviation from previous Gearjammer vehicle is that this one does not have tracks. Other than that, I had the Gearjammer rammer in the back of my mind the whole time I was feeling this one out. Now, you may ask, what are the game mechanics for a team hauler? None. It's just for show, which is why I wanted to add the weapon option. It's more of a personal preference to have a team hauler. I think they look cool on the side of the track during game day. I had a great time meeting everyone at the Forest Moon Festival this last weekend. More than one attendee told me that the Gearjammer Grabber was their favorite of my pieces. I received so many sincere compliments, including being called an artist by more than just my buddy Mike at All Day Comics. If you are a Star Wars fan, this festival happens every May and celebrates all things Star Wars, and I do mean everything. I was lucky enough to attend a screening of A Disturbance in the Force, which is a documentary about how and why we were given the Star Wars Holiday Special. I've said it before, but our beautiful redwoods were the setting for the Forest Moon of Endor in Return of the Jedi, and we are very proud of that on the North Coast. Each year the festival is getting bigger and better, and I highly recommend staying tuned for information on the 2027 lineup. While I did have fun seeing all the cosplayers, the homemade props, and overall love for something as nerdy as Star Wars, it was kind of an up and down weekend for me. I gladly agreed to help my buddy at All Day Comics with his booth, and in return he offered me a small part in the corner, which I felt was more than generous. Now, Mike is not just a comics and Star Wars fan. He was an assistant editor for Dark Horse Comics on some of the best non-Marvel Star Wars comics. The festival organizers kept calling him the talent, as he was part of the main Q&A panel later in the day, and we were relentlessly teasing him about that. In theater, there is a saying, know your audience. Despite an awesome opportunity, I did only manage to sell one piece, but I did receive a ton of compliments, and as I said, I had a few people call me an artist and refer to my work as art. Moments like that kept me going despite the lack of sales. Like I said, know your audience. This was an audience full of Star Wars fans. Kevin Max and the Apocalypse were the furthest from their mind, despite the current headlines. The Blue Lake Comic Con has also been gaining size with more vendors and attendees added every year. My buddy Mike at All Day Comics has again asked me to help him out and is sharing part of his booth with me, and I'll be talking up my work and my channel while helping you find the right comic or merch for your collection. I plan to make some new versions of previous vehicles that were extremely popular at both the Humboldt and Shasta County Gamer Festivals. One of them should not be a mystery, as I've sold 2 of them so far, and the others may appeal to your sweet tooth or pizza needs. Stay tuned to my social media for behind-the-scenes updates on some of those projects. Now, in the previously mentioned Christmas goodie bag from my amazing wife, I also received some magnets from the Army Painter, which I've already used quite a bit of in past builds. Once I got the diamond plate work done on the trailer, I took a pair of magnets and lined them up with a grabber arm. I wanted enough room for the arm to be able to rotate 360 degrees, and since the base of the arm is not round, I wanted to make sure it wouldn't bump into anything. The intent for the arm is to be removable, but the fact that it could swivel as well made it 10 times better. For the arm, I wanted it to look like it was something ripped off of a backhoe and slapped onto a war rig. I wanted to try and match the yellow on the Cat brand of backhoes, but nothing in the wasteland is pristine. I chose to start with acrylic steel as the base, making sure I had everything covered, but not worried about the opacity. I chose to leave the claw itself as basic steel, and went over the base and arm with acrylic golden yellow. I planned to bring down the brightness with weathering later in the project, so the bright yellow wasn't an issue. When adding the yellow, again, I wasn't worried about the opacity, since most of the yellow would have worn off with time and use. I made sure to get the yellow into the deeper parts because they would be the least exposed parts of the arm. I followed that up with polished silver speed paint to finish the look of barely painted equipment, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. I rounded out the detail using the Army Painter mithril for the hydraulic pistons, again planning to bring down the shiny with real-world detailing. What's the one thing a good war rig or team transport would never be without? Rusty chains. Using necklace chain from a craft store, I added chains to the trailer and glued most of them into place to prevent it from breaking off. The cab of this big rig had a beefy motor hidden under the partially open hood, but that's not enough. Never enough room. I took a jewelry handsaw and went to work on removing the rest of the hood, making way for another motor on top. I know, but I use orc logic. I build it, it will work. The top motor had its own exhaust pipes poking out, so I added some pipes that fed down into the lower engine for effect. Processed everything with my usual weatherization, the Army Painter rust effects and strong tone, coupled with oil stain effects on the motors, center of the flatbed, and mithril hydraulic shafts. Once I had all the wear and tear details in place, I went back over it to make sure everything was in good and ready for some glamour shots. And here it is, the Gearjammer Grabber, ready to wreck your wasteland. Get ready to use that grabber arm to pick up wrecks and lob them at your enemies. If you like this build and want to add it to your garage, you can find it here in my Etsy store. While you're there, have a look around and see if something else grabs your attention. I'm trying to grow this channel and I can't do it alone. If you like this episode and want to see more like it, subscribe to my channel and help me get noticed in the YouTube world. Hitting the like button will feed the ever-confusing algorithm and give me another type of boost. And a special thanks to those of you watching all the way to the end. You are my heroes. And the wind beneath my wings. I'll be back next week with another episode, but while you're out trying to find your inspiration, don't forget, they ain't gonna paint themselves.